Welcome back. You're still watching Daybreak, and you're with Senator Moses Kajwang, Senator Sylvia Kasanga, and Dr. Chris Omalo from Community Constituency. And I almost said Dr. Kasanga, but Senator Kasanga, you wanted to respond to what Senator
yes, Senator
Kajwang just spoke about,
yes,
especially on the sharing of the kitty,
yes,
but also on the future of NASA, and saying that whichever party wants to go it alone, they can do so.
Yes, yes. I just wanted to comment. Senator Kajwang has said that it is juvenile that the other parties in NASA are expecting a little share of the political parties' fund kitty. And I want to remind him that the wins of ODM in 2017 were the wins of NASA. ODM was not alone when they were winning all those seats. And in fact, when we take stock, like in Wiper, we might have lost some seats because of the way we had crafted that agreement with NASA. So we fielded candidates, all of us. And some of us might have actually lost in that sort of arrangement that we had. We should have had actually a few more numbers in Parliament as far as we are concerned. So this unmet expectation of not sharing the political party's fund is really a deal breaker. No matter how you put it, Senator Kajwang, it is not juvenile. It is just a way that we can see your bullying coming back again, because you're refusing to accept that the wins of ODM were not just for ODM alone. They were the wins of ODM and Wiper and all the other partners of NASA, and that must be appreciated. And the fact that it is not appreciated, we take exception. And we are saying, since we have not met our expectations in NASA, why then should we continue with that vehicle? It's time we move to a coalition or an arrangement with other political parties where at least we can have some shared values, where we have respect for each other, because leadership is also about respect, it's about trust, so that we can move the agenda forward. You know, the agendas that Senator Kajwang is talking about are the agendas that we all carry. We want, of course, to see a prosperous country come next election.
Let me just cut you short, because you said that you're moving forward, and I presume you are speaking about the One Kenya Alliance,
yes,
of the parties ANC, KANU, Fort Kenya, and Wiper. Where do you see yourself, if you had to go it alone, just the four of you, where do you see yourselves in 2022, at a time that you have another formation of the United Democratic Alliance of William Ruto, and on this other side there's Jubilee working into a coalition with Raila Odinga and ODM?
You know, the president has really spoken about the fact that he wants the leaders to come together. And you can understand why he wants that to happen, because in the last election, the perception of winner takes it all, and we've spoken a lot about it here, Sam, is that it needs to be removed from the equation of politics if we are going to rebuild our economy come 2023. And this is why there's this push that the leaders need to go towards the next election in a joint manner. And you know, the time will come. The time will come when everyone will sit at the table, and then decisions will be made as to who is going to be at the, at the helm, or who is going to go where, and and watajipanga, so to speak.
Under what arrangement?
But that arrangement will come.
One Kenya Alliance of the four parties, or inclusive of ODM and Jubilee?
No, in fact, One Kenya Alliance is inviting more people to come. Even Jubilee and ODM can all join us. So it is not, Sam, you want answers right now.
Let's listen to some two leaders that spoke so that you understand what I'm asking about. Listen.
Nataka niseme sana ndugu Raila mwenyewe amekuja na kushukuru kwa kufika. Tulikuwa hatukutarajii, lakini Mungu amekupatia nguvu ya kufika Ukambani. Zote tuko timu moja kubwa zaidi.
There have been too much propaganda by the media that Raila is giving his colleagues in NASA conditions. I'm not giving you conditions. We are talking. We are talking, and we are going to talk, and we are going to be together. Together. We are going to come together, NASA, Your Excellency, and we invite you also to become a member of NASA.
So that is Raila Odinga. Excuse me, he's inviting President Kenyatta to become a member of NASA. But here you are, both of you from Fort Kenya and Wiper, saying that it's time to move on after NASA. But you also tell me that you're welcoming all these other parties. Who are you welcoming? Because there are two formations at the moment, three formations: UDA of William Ruto, Jubilee, ODM, Raila Odinga and Uhuru Kenyatta, One Kenya Alliance of Gideon Moi, Kalonzo Musyoka, Moses Wetangula and Musalia Mudavadi. So who are you inviting to your side, UDA or Jubilee?
No, we're inviting Jubilee. We are inviting actually anyone who is of like mind. Let us now talk that way.
Who is that? I mean,
and you see,
in reality terms.
Sam, first things first. Politicians have to have conversations all the time. And that's why you can hear Raila Odinga, you know, speaking that we are still talking. The talking must continue ahead of any politics, any political cycle. So members are still talking, trying to align themselves, trying to arrange themselves so that, you know, the ultimate is who is going to take government. So these conversations must continue. And when we are inviting people, it's because some like-minded group, like the One Kenya movement, we've decided that this is how we want to move forward. And we're inviting any others who feel that they speak like us or they think like us to come and join us so that we can move together. So these are conversations happening within, you know, different groupings of people. And eventually, maybe even all the groups will come together. Maybe not. Maybe eventually we'll have an alignment of just 2 groups. Okay. So these conversations must continue. Okay. The answer you're looking for, you might not get right now.
Because you don't have to give me, or it's not available?
No, you might not get it right now.
Wow, you don't say why. No. Dr. Wamalwa, are there any structured conversations between ODM and Fort Kenya that you know of?
Yes, talks have been going on. Maybe it is still unofficial. But before maybe responding to that, you know, Senator Kajwang,
it's a very simple question. Are there structured
it's informal. I said it's
Kenya?
informal. When it's informal, there are no structures. So as we speak at the moment, there are no structures at all. So I know the informal talks that have been going on, casual talks. You know, you start from informal talks is when maybe you formalize them. But back on the political parties fund, I want Senator Kajwang to note, what is the objective of the political parties fund in the Political Parties Act? The Political Parties Fund was to enhance issues of democracy and good governance, because there are some political parties which belong to individuals. They are the ownership, because they are the ones funding everything. And when it comes to issues of democracy, issues of nominations as a party, you find that the owners of the party dictate. And that is the critical objective why there was an establishment of Political Parties Fund and the Political Parties Act. This is a law that I really contributed myself as an individual. So when this money comes, you cannot come and say only 0.3%. It's 0.3% of what? Of the GDP of this country.
It's revenue. No, it's revenue.
I mean, the revenue, yeah. As well, GDP can also be revenue. No. I mean, in terms GDP of... so you calculate what percentage. We are looking at the issue of 12 trillion. So when you calculate 0.3% of amount like 12 trillion, because I think those are the records we have about the national revenue. So we are coming to almost...
it's 0.3% of the national revenue. So
yes, what was the national revenue?
About, let's say, 1.7 trillion shillings.
It is even more. It's almost 2... It's actually, my calculation is almost 2 billion. 2 billion is not small amount of money. So when Senator Kajwang comes here and talks of 0.13%, that's not small money. If a political party has been given that money, it can establish offices in the entire counties. This is the money that will do so much as far as the democracy of every political party is concerned. Mm-hmm. And for you to become a national party, Sam, you must have at least 24 offices. That's in the 47 counties. At least 47 counties, you must have at least more than a half. It is not easy. It is something that is very expensive, that parties are struggling, and this political parties fund is very critical as far as enhancing and strengthening these political parties is concerned. So the issue here is this: ODM cannot run away. We're also testing trust. Is this a partner that you can trust? Is it this a partner that respects each other? Or is this a partner tomorrow you agree you have scratched his back today, and tomorrow if he gets power, he runs away from you? We are looking at issues of integrity, issues of transparency, issues of accountability. So for ODM to come here and say, it's a small amount of money, I think that is very, very wrong.
I think it's Senator Kajwang who said that, not the
He party. Represents ODM. When I'm here, I represent Ford Kenya.
That's fine.
Absolutely.
That's fine. Acting Secretary General.
But now as we move forward,
just hold on. Now you confused me. The question is disappearing. But you talk about a partner that you cannot trust in ODM. Yet you told me that you have talks that are informal. To what end, if you cannot trust them?
Yeah, as we talk, as I said earlier, we've been in coalition with ODM, starting from CORD, coming to NASA. So they are partners, we've been together, we know each other. The shoe knows where it pinches. Mm-hmm. So the issue of trust from our colleagues, you know, it's been something that has been questionable. Remember 2 years ago, as I told you, they are the same people who came and announced the death of NASA. Today, because of the conflict of interest that they want, they are the same people who are announcing the resurrection of NASA. Why at such a time? So as we move forward, as we look for other like-minded partners, and we have no doubt they can join us, but they must leave their bad manners if they agree on the way forward.
Dr. Omalo, you confused me because you... Anyway, that's fine. Senator Kajwang, so you're working with the Jubilee Party, but there's also the conversation that the Jubilee wing that you'll be working with is very weakened, because if you're looking at the strength it had in 2017, that's all gone. There are 170 plus members of parliament that it has do not anymore pay allegiance to that political party. Don't you think you're getting into a coalition with such a weak partner, and you did help better than these other three parties helped you or helped the coalition in 2017?
It is always misleading to look at the number of MPs in parliament as an indicator of grassroots support, because 60% are not re-elected. And sometimes the decisions that political parties take, especially driven by members of parliament who have personal interests, sometimes they're the wrong decisions. I have seen cases of capture by political party leaders, by individuals whose interests are local politics. You find some of our colleagues who want to run for governor, and they will blackmail and hijack a political party leader to a particular cause, simply because that cause is going to aid them to get the local positions that they want. Mm-hmm. So I see nothing wrong in ODM talking to Jubilee. And if members of Jubilee, some of them are oscillating towards the UDA party and William Ruto, I see nothing wrong in that, because it's their right. But at the end of the day, statistics has shown us that members of parliament, 60% do not find their way back. So they cannot be the bedrock of support.
Do you think the Jubilee Party still retains its strength, especially in Mount Kenya region?
I don't think it still has that unanimous support that it had. And that's a fact.
Does it bother you?
Of course, we have the same problems on the NASA side. We hear our colleagues speaking from both sides of the mouth, saying that they will only work with us if we pay them. And you see, that's why I still maintain that it is the wrong conversation to have. We will appear as if support will be based on some cash handouts or cash payments.
Just to be fair to them, they didn't say that they'll work with you if you pay them. It is if you
but some that has been the central thrust, that when it comes to the political parties fund, they feel shortchanged. But when it comes to parliamentary leadership, they have no problem with that. So it will appear as if they are paid, then they'll be okay, they'll be part of NASA. But some have said it, and I said, even if we go into a Mkate coalition or a Blue Band coalition or whatever it is, the most important thing is the objective of that coalition, that it is aimed at capturing power, and capturing power for what purpose. How I wish that the differences between the NASA affiliate parties were differences on ideology and differences on how to revive the economy. We have not had that maybe ODM favors austerity and Ford Kenya favors spending. We have not heard that maybe ODM favors vaccinations and Ford Kenya does not favor vaccination like Donald Trump supporters. We have not had ideological differences. It cannot be about 0.3% of 2 trillion that separates people who have worked together for 2 elections. But some, of course, coalitions are fluid. They are formed depending on the politics of the moment. And I think we are comfortable as ODM talking to Jubilee. We have left the door open. I think there's a popular song saying, leave the door open. We have left the door open. And our brothers and sisters in the NASA coalition can join us. We can go back as NASA. We can go back in a rebranded format. But you know, we are at a very critical juncture as a country. If we don't get it right now, and that's not just Kenya, that's many countries across the globe, because of the effects of COVID-19, the effects of this pandemic, each and every nation must reflect on the direction that it wants to take. Okay. And we must make the right decisions that can ensure that we get our economy back on its feet. We also get our politics to a state where it is not a civil war every time we have elections.
Right, and of course we are speaking about this at a time that in just 2 days' time, the Kiambaa constituents will be going to the ballot to elect who will be the next member of parliament. Of course, many have said that it's a race between one Juguna or Njiku of UDA and Kariri Njama of the Jubilee Party. Keep it Citizen TV will be bringing you the latest in as far as preparations for that by-election and the actual voting come Thursday starting 6 a.m. And I want us to transition to our final topic of the morning, and this is to do with the road to 2022 at a time that the interviews for IEBC commissioners are now on the second week. I believe about 11 candidates have already been interviewed. 3 more will be interviewed today, and these interviews will conclude on the 22nd of July. We also know that the general election is expected to be held on the 9th of August 2022, despite different voices that have been suggesting an alternative. But Senator Kasanga, watching the interviews of the IEBC commissioners, have you seen a potential commissioner so far? And then as you reflect on the road to 2022, what do you want to see at a time that IEBC has just about 12 months plus to prepare for the election?
Sam, I want to confess that I haven't really followed closely on the interviews, other than the snippets I get as highlights in the news. But it's exciting to see the process. You know, it's exciting to see the process of how they've narrowed down to the candidates that right now they're interviewing. And also to see the way they're interviewing. I mean, I watched on the news the other day and I saw some candidates even struggling with Kiswahili, and I said, wow, it is a good thing to bring these things to the fore, because the work of IEBC is really grassroots work. It is dealing with Mwananchi right, you know, at the bottom. It is important that the commissioners who are selected really understand the role of IEBC when it comes to the perception that they have delivered a credible election. And therefore, the questions, some of the questions that I saw being posed to the commissioners then become very relevant. How deeply do they understand the role of IEBC themselves, even from wherever, you know, from whatever walk of life that they are walking into IEBC, they need to understand then that really critical role of IEBC in delivering a credible election. And, you know, following from 2017, then of course it is my wish that IEBC has cleaned up its act going into the next election, and that we don't find ourselves where we found ourselves in the last election, that then caused this protracted electioneering period that has cost the economy so much, you know, and with COVID then coming to top up from an economy that had not quite recovered from a protracted electioneering period. So it is my sincere wish that IEBC has prepared itself accordingly, that we will not have some of the issues that, you know, happened in 2017 at this time. So definitely the commissioners have a task at hand, and actually I'm happy at how rigorous the interviews have been, and I wish in fact we could be seeing this kind of interviews when it goes into, you know, such commissions and state organs.
And Dr. Chris Omalo, of course, again, this has been a running conversation on the show. The earliest that we can have new commissioners is probably August, because once the selection panel concludes the interviewing sessions on the 22nd of July, there's that time that they need to recommend at least 4 names. I don't know what they exactly should be, because the Act talks about when you are constituting the full commission. But that may take us to August if the National Assembly is to go through the approval hearings. What challenges do you foresee, knowing that in 2017 the commissioners came into the office in January, we're not very far from January, and it ended up being what it was?
Thank you, Sam, for that question. And I watched the interviews, and I remember last time I was on this show when the Chief Justice was being interviewed, and you asked me who is likely to be, and I shortlisted the 3. I mentioned Ouko, I mentioned Gatia, and I mentioned Kome. And we appreciate these open interviews so that the public can also watch. And I've been watching, but I'm a bit disappointed. Maybe we're used to the JSC. JSC had prepared it very well. This election panel, the candidates to me majority have been below average. I've seen some people being asked questions. They are even lawyers. They cannot even articulate. I was like, my goodness, how did they even land to be shortlisted? Like a lawyer was being asked issues of referendum. Under Article 255, we could not say. And if you are going for an interview to be a commission on IBC, common sense dictates, at least you should go through Article 88, where there's establishment of IBC, understand Article 89, basic things. But I was surprised. You want to be a commissioner, you can't even speak Swahili. That's automatically out because you'll be communicating to Kenyans. You'll be taken to Mandera, for instance, or you've gone to some region where they can't speak English, and you come and say, sorry, I can't speak Swahili. I think that was disqualifying herself. Another one who is also a lawyer, you are being...
than speaking.
No. Another lawyer being asked questions on what issues need a referendum. And the role of IBC one is to conduct a referendum. You don't even know. So to me, I think compared to where I came from when we were watching the CJ, this one has been a bit below average.
So have you seen any potential commissioner there?
So far, I've not seen those that are very appealing, that are punchy, no. They've just been average and below average. As I move forward on the issue of interviews, once they finish, the selection panel finishes an interview, it's supposed to give a report, and this report has to come to Parliament. Parliament means National Assembly, not Senate. So it comes to the National Assembly under the committee of DAYBREAK. And before we went on recess, we passed a procedure motion that any report that might come in our absence, the Speaker can automatically send it to the relevant committee for purposes of vetting. They have to go through the parliamentary vetting. So we are on recess, and I see them finishing, though it has been harder, it has been a lot of laxity. How I wish they would have worked faster, like the way the JSC is.
Okay.
We've had a lot of laxity in this election panel, a lot of wastage of time, and we need commissioners like yesterday.
They had about 669 applications.
Yeah.
No. But
from 700, I think.
Chief Justice, JSC, how long did they take?
But they had very few applicants.
It doesn't matter. They should have worked around the clock. They should have worked around the clock. To me, as a person, it's my opinion that we've had a lot of laxity. Now, the issue is this. As per the Crickler report, Crickler report says, if you want to have proper elections, it is good to have these people in office at least 24 months to elections. Right now, as we speak, these people are going to be in office in less than 1 year, or in less than 12 months to the elections. We're going to have a lot of challenges. They need to go through orientation. You know, it's going to take time. And in any case, if the Court of Appeal, in any case, if it overturns the ruling of the High Court, that means there will be issues of maybe referendum for that matter.
Let's not get to that first. Senator Kajwang, I don't know what has been your impression with the selection process. And secondly, should these commissioners come into office, let's say August of 2021, their 6-year term will expire in August of 2027. At a time we'll have another election. So what do you think we need to do, even as we conclude this process?
Well, this exercise attracted a lot of interest. I know people from the clergy, professionals, etc., who applied for it. In fact, for the positions that are available, it tells you that we have a big problem in this country. And the question we must be asking ourselves is that these hundreds of applicants, are they just looking for a job, or they want to do something, you know, in pursuit of the ideal of the nation? Because a job like this for the IBC should not just be someone who's seeking employment. It should be someone who has achieved some level of responsibility and now wants to do something more for the nation. The timing of the appointment, I don't think is a crisis, because Parliament can come up with laws. Even the next Parliament can come up with laws to vary some of those timelines, despite the provisions of Article 251 that talks about the tenure of constitutional commissioners. But for me, the bigger problem is IBC as constituted. Is it capable of inspiring confidence in Kenyans to conduct the general elections? Right now, we are dealing with issues of quorum. And remember, the issue of quorum is a matter that came up in the BBI ruling, and is subject of the appeal at the Court of Appeal. So we shall let it rest, but at least we are making efforts to ensure that the issue of quorum is addressed. But I'm looking at 3 other very important aspects. The legislation and regulations that are required before the next general election. Issues to do with financing, issues to do with qualification of candidates. If you go to our rural areas, those people who want to represent wards are very confused, because they don't know whether they'll be required to have a degree or whether the Kipchumba amendment is going to pass through so that anybody who can speak English can be allowed to be in the county assembly. So we need to deal
English or Swahili or Kenya's sign language.
Or even sign language. So we need to deal and ensure that there's clarity on the regulatory and legislative framework going into the next election.
Now that you mentioned that, what's your take on a degree qualification for all elective posts?
I personally believe that if we require such qualifications for people who mentor our children, what about people who determine policy? What about people who oversight? What about people who allocate budgets? I think that some of these positions, because of the job description is clearly defined in the Constitution and Acts of Parliament, require some basic competence. But I also think that it is something that we could consider letting political parties to enforce rather than making it statutory. Why do I say let political parties enforce? In an area like Homa Bay, there is no shortage of degree holders. But if you go to some parts of northern Kenya, for issues and reasons of historical injustice, you might not get the same number of graduates as you find in Homa Bay or Kisumu. So political parties can look at where that requirement can be strictly
But Senator,
applied.
the law currently says that all these people must have degrees. So if you disagree with the amendment of Senator Kipchumba Murkomen that wants to lower the qualification to a person who can speak, who is literate, who can speak and write in English or Swahili or Kenya Sign Language, what then would you prefer to be amended to reflect differently?
Just the same way the courts ruled that the issue of two-third gender, is it two-third or one-third gender, was a responsibility of political parties and not IBC. I think the issue of qualification of candidates who are presented for nomination and election should be a matter that political parties are then empowered to enforce, rather than having one standard template that runs across the country. Because if you look at how many graduates do we have in this country, and what is the concentration of those graduates? Are they fairly and evenly distributed across the country? The answer is no. We don't want leadership to be a preserve of the elite. But in areas where there's that over-concentration, I think political parties can do it. But some, two other things that I think are extremely important.
Because you raised the question, how many degrees you have in the country? According to the statistics of the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, in 2019, they were able to tally 1.25 million university degrees in the country. People with mid-level or TVET qualification were 2.6 million. Secondary education was 8.8 million. These are people who have terminated or completed the education at those levels. But it was pretty differentiated when it goes to the different counties. Counties like Tana River has just 1,432 degrees, Lamu 1,638, but Nairobi 334,000 degrees, Kiambu 138,000. Then when you go to sub-counties, there's some sub-counties like Balambala in Garissa County that has just 18 degrees, 13 of them being men and 5 women. Kibish in Turkana, 37 degrees, 28 of them are men and 9 are women. And as we conclude on this, because we're practically out of time, for Dr. Chris Wamalwa and Senator Kasanga, starting with you, Dr. Wamalwa, so your reflection on the qualification of degrees, but secondly, so many legislations that even IBC has said are before Parliament, not yet enacted, regulations on Campaign Financing Act not yet in force, and they need to be by August so that that law can be applicable. Aren't we, or aren't you as Parliament, hindering the success of the Commission in the next election?
We are not hindering. The problem has been COVID-19 pandemic, whereby Parliament has not been sitting on the usual days. And I do agree that at a time like this, we need to have all laws related to elections to have been put in place, including the referendum law, including the Elections Act, even the Political Parties Act. But where I want to differ with Senator Kajwang, you can't come and say the issues of academic qualification should be left to the political parties. The Constitution stipulates clearly that Parliament shall legislate academic qualification, because we have a provision of people can come in as independent candidates, not through necessarily a political party. So long as that has been put in place, it will be now incorporated in the Elections Act. Remember, the Election Acts is like omnibus laws related to elections. Even the issues of that affect the Political Parties Acts, normally you normally put them consolidated under the Elections Act. So there are many, many issues I have to look at, even the issues of qualification. And as we speak right now, in the last Parliament, we passed a law that members of the National Assembly, members of Parliament, members of the County Assembly should have a degree. And this was to be operationalized in 2022. But looking at the circumstances the way they have been, of course there are challenges. When it comes to interpretation of...
So you favor an amendment?
When it comes to interpretation of the Auditor General, there are many issues that parliamentarians need to get.
Okay.
And you've just given a report of some counties where even degrees has been a challenge. How I wish that we should amend that section and put into consideration, maybe for people who are going for MCAs,
okay.
let's say they have a diploma.
Okay.
They can't have the same qualification
like
members of parliament, the governor, and the president. So when that time comes, parliament is a house of debate. We are going to debate, but I strongly feel that we should amend that law so that MCAs should not necessarily have a degree.
All right. Senator Kasanga, I will give you a moment after we read some of the feedback that we have, so that you know what Kenyans have been saying on Twitter at Citizen TV Kenya, at San Gituku, the hashtag being DAYBREAK. Well, it takes a bit of time, but here it is. Who is this? Jacob Abere. Point of information on CJ Martha Koome is right. We've seen cases, parliament committees overstepping, whether they have high court powers or not. They be told Madam CJ is going to defend judiciary independence jealously. Well, Engineer Lazaro, no party within the NASA, the defunct NASA coalition, it's not defunct really, Lazaro, is capable of approaching next election alone. The situation will still force them to work together, regardless of some of their utterances concerning political parties fund. Abantu, most of the parties in NASA, as it is, got some seats on the strength of the ODM party, mostly in Western Kenya, just like ANC party. Well, Musoma, since they can't agree a year to election, let ODM, One Kenya Alliance and UDA go it alone and trigger a run-up election. Their pride will bring number 2 and 3 to an easy negotiation table. Your final words in 20 seconds, Senator Kasanga.
In 20 seconds, thank you so much for the platform and for inviting me this morning. And indeed, some of the viewers there are indeed right. Judiciary must be guarded jealously, but I still maintain that, the independence of judiciary must be guarded jealously, but I also believe that it is possible to resolve issues amicably just by, sitting on a round table and sorting out whatever administrative issues that are there. And then, of course, when it comes to coalitions, without a doubt, no one can go at it alone. So these conversations must continue, and indeed, I know the time will come and, leaders will have to agree on the way forward.
Of course, we live with some pending questions. Dr. Chris Omalo will tell us how much money court still owes them and how much money NASA still owes them. We'll have that conversation next time. Thank you so much.
It's not based on GDP. It's based on
it's revenue.
Yeah, it's revenue.
Senator Kajwang, Dr. Chris Omalo, and Senator Kasanga, thank you so much for making time for us. We take a short break. When we come back, we have former Cabinet Secretary and party leader of the Service Party, Mwangi Kiunjuri. He comes to studio to speak about different matters in his new world. After the break, stay tuned.